In an effort to protect the crew, Brawn is the first to act when Decepticons attack the Autobot shuttle.
Gee, you don't say. So this Denny's menu looking fellow is Waffle Toast, an action figure reviewer and a good friend of mine. And he decided to get me this guy. So long story short, this is an incidental review of, oh wait, wrong figure. Okay. This is an incidental review on Studio Series 86 Brawn. Now when this guy first came out, I never really planned on getting him, since on one hand, Brawn was never really a character that called me. I mean, sure, he was a fun character, but he was nowhere near one of my favorites. And plus, my shelf was, and still is, pretty full with what I see as my main staples, excluding crossover figures. But much to my surprise, when I got this cannon fodder individual from Mr. Toast, I was pleasantly surprised, because I absolutely loved this figure. Starting off with the sculpt, and it does an amazing job on recreating the proportions of the original G1 model. Well, minus the legs being a bit bulkier, but honestly, who cares? This dude should look like he's never skipped leg day. It's really clean for a Dulex figure. And yeah, even though the backpack is a bit bulky and gets in the way of leg articulation, it doesn't matter that much. Plus, it's accurate to his design. And something that I'm really glad they did and have been doing for a while is not use clear plastic windows. You have no idea how tired I was of them on G1 inspired figures. Because not only did it just not look great, since it was always this ugly dark royal blue, but you could also see the robot junk in some cases. Not to mention that clear plastic is also notoriously fragile. I mean, you could probably make a Netflix documentary out of all the victims.
In August of 2024, Legacy Scourge was found on the ground after bungee jumping off a shelf. Police would later find that his clear plastic smokestack easily shattered. 3 months later, and it's exactly the same. But why did he jump? Join me for this fascinating edition of Unsolved Mysteries.
So that's why I just prefer these painted on windows with this really nice sky blue color. At least I think that's sky blue. I don't know, argue with me in the comments, y'all. And something that I've loved about the 86 line as a whole is how it combines the simple, smooth designs of the animation models and adds little mechanical details so it's kind of more realistic and not really boring. And Brawn is no different, with my favorite aspects being the little vent grades on his chest and the side of his legs. Oh yeah, and also this really weird gear behind his head. Also, weirdly enough, he actually has some sole imprints on the bottom of his feet. Now, I don't actually know if this was intentional or not, but if it was, bravo, Hasbro. As for accessories, he comes with this little gun, which I get why, but at the same time I can't help but question because I don't actually remember him ever using a gun, since he was always more of a fist guy. Though I could be misremembering, so don't quote me on that. And as for his other accessory, you can take off his spare tire on his back, which has a 5mm port, so you could stick his gun in it or stick it in his hand. I don't know exactly what he would do with this though. I don't know, use it as a makeshift ramen bowl. Honestly, I'm a little surprised and disappointed that we didn't get anything like his drills, but I'm not too hung up about it. Moving on to the paint, and it's really nice. I really love how the yellow bits look with the glossy finish. It stands out nicely. And while not painted, the green plastic also looks nice on its own, and is a good contrast. I mean, what else can I really say? It's all just really well done. I mean, yeah, there's a little bit of paint bleeding on the back window, but it's such an unnoticeable thing that it doesn't really bother me and doesn't affect the figure whatsoever. So I'd say my only real quote-unquote complaint is the fact that the back window here isn't painted. But again, it's not that big of a deal. Knowing Hasbro, it's probably blah 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 cost reasons. Moving on to articulation, and we have the head, which can swivel 360 degrees. But because of the way the head is molded, he can't look up or down. And unfortunately, moving the head can be a real hassle since the hood is directly behind the head. So I have to constantly put his chest down just to move it. And even then it's hard to move because his head is
Bald! Bald!
So it's as slippery as someone who polishes their forehead every day. Now, I know it's not great to compare official figures on a reasonable budget with third-party figures, but I really prefer how New Age did their Brawn head, where they made the hood and head one piece, giving it more easily accessed mobility. Now, this wouldn't be G1 accurate, but I do think it would make the head movement flow a lot better. Moving on to the arms, and they both have free rotation movement on ball joints, with both a bicep swivel and an elbow bend on a single joint, that can slightly go more than 90 degrees. Also, while not intended to be an articulation bonus, this transformation mechanic where the ball joint is connected to can lower the shoulder and give the arms more range, which I really like, since it can give some more opportunities for posing. Moving downwards, and his waist can do a complete 360, with the legs being able to be moved from side to side and forward and backwards. Though unfortunately, due to his massive backpack and the chonkiness of his legs, they can't go back that far. Huh. Where have I seen that before? He's also got a 360 thigh swivel, and some 90-degree single-jointed knees. But something really cool about the legs is that if you unhinge them during transformation and extend them a little, you can actually make him look like his original G1 figure. Now, granted, he can't stand very well, and I'm not even really sure if this was fully intentional, but it's just really cool. So if this was intentional, I freaking love it. Props to you guys at Hasbro and Takara. I love you guys. Can't wait to see what you guys cook up next. Okay, yeah, you know what, never mind. Alright, I officially got sidetracked during this joke. So anyways, finishing up the articulation, and we have this ankle pivot that can move out this far. Look, he may not be the most posable thing ever, but for what we got, it's pretty good. He clocks up to about 4.5 inches, and sizes up well with his Studio Series 86 brethren, such as Studio Series 86 Ironhide. Now, I would show you other examples, but he's the only other one I got. Anyways, before we move on to the vehicle mode, I'd actually like to talk about the transformation for once, because it's actually really fun, easy, and perfectly tucks in all the pieces together. Plus, it just feels like a modernized version of the original G1 figures transformation, with both versions involving doors moving up from the arms and the legs completely wrapping around the body to make the sides of the vehicle. Though, there is this one section that I have a love-hate relationship with, and it's this pin part behind the head, which requires you to just turn this bit until you have the front of the vehicle in the right position, which is a really creative and cool mechanic. But the problem is, because of the way it has to scrape against these two pieces here, I feel like eventually it's gonna wear down the paint, and also possibly stress the plastic. But enough about that. Let's talk about the vehicle mode. Now, on first glance, I didn't even notice this, but it's actually somewhat different from his original alt mode. My guess would be that this was probably to avoid copyright laws, since I'm like 90% sure the original Brawn was heavily inspired by a 1972 Suzuki Jimny. Though I've also heard that he's supposed to be a Land Rover Defender Series 2, which I do see because he kinda has the same side profile and the whole front fender slightly wrapping around near the grille thing. The only problem is that the Jimny fits the original Brawn's chibi proportions to a T, and the front of the car is pretty much identical. But I'm getting off track. Okay, so basically to those who don't know, usually when Hasbro doesn't want to pay a license to include a vehicle, or something that's too heavily inspired by one, or they just, straight up can't get the license, they make a knockoff version with small alterations, with the best examples I could point out being Studio Series 71 Dino Mirage and the non-shit colored Hound. And it seems like they did this with Brawn too, and I honestly don't mind it, even if I really don't like how the grille looks. But what I do love on the other hand is how this is just the original but on steroids. It looks like something that would ram into your house Kool-Aid Man style and then scream like Randy Savage. It's badass. And I think it being a bit bulkier really works for Brawn. Oh yeah, and just like the robot mode, the details are really nice. Such as the gas canister on the back, the windshield wipers, the running board. I mean, come on, it's just really cool. I really gotta stop gushing about the little things, so this review is gonna be way too long. So yeah, Studio Series 86 Brawn. Can you tell I love him? I don't really know what else I could possibly say without repeating myself. It's a sturdy, well-designed figure that has a fun transformation and a pretty neat vehicle mode. So my final thoughts are that I give this figure an 8 out of 10. I said it before and I'll say it again. This figure really surprised me. So that is going to be the end of this review. Tune in next time for when I review the most overhyped Jurassic Park figure I've ever seen. Well, either that or it's going to be Japanese Spider-Man. Anyways, I hope all you viewers have a lovely day.